Hey, this is Cool Trains in Montreal, and I want to show off a couple of more colorful 1970s, 1980s era rolling stock, some rail cars, and I want to show off also a couple of locomotives in the Delaware and Hudson Lightning scheme, paint scheme, and this nice little red caboose here that I have for Delaware and Hudson. So I'll start with the caboose. It's not as detailed, I guess, as you could see in the previous video of the CN caboose. Doesn't have the painted handrails and stuff like that on the side of the car. Um, it is a really nice model, though. It is made by Atlas. It's a standard wide vision caboose that they made for several different railroads, and this one they painted in the nice Delaware and Hudson red. So I have this caboose because it's not 100% of what they had. It's a compromise model, but it's really nice. So this is the this is also made by Atlas, this GP38 model. It is a model of an EMD GP38 locomotive, and it's in the Delaware and Hudson's blue and gray lightning stripe scheme that was in the maybe late 60s to mid 70s. And then after the mid 70s, they started to go with a more dark blue and a different, more, I don't know, cost cutting kind of paint scheme. And it became a kind of a hodgepodge. But in their glory days, they had this really nice blue and gray. And here you can see if you zoom in, you can see Delaware and Hudson, and it gives you the road number there. I mean, the road number and the name are a little small, I suppose, but I just really like this paint scheme. It's very handsome. And I like, again, the symbol. Here's a railroad that attempted to, to have some pride here. Like CN and like so many other railroads of that era, they put some attention to detail into their paint schemes in order to garner some attention from the general public as well as shippers. So beside this model, I have a different model of locomotive. Now, this is a General Electric locomotive. GE started becoming a major player in North American railroads, other than just industrial switchers, like in road switchers and road locomotives in the mid-60s. And this one here is a U23B. U was universal. It was a series of locomotives. 23 was, I believe, 2,300 horsepower. And it's B because it has two-wheel trucks. The larger locomotives are C trucks, and they have 3 axles. So this one is actually two axles per truck. So this becomes a 4-axle locomotive. And the bigger ones are 6-axle locomotives. So this one's a U23B. And again, here it's a different kind of lettering and numbering system here. They have the larger road number, which I really like, actually. And the Delaware and Hudson is smaller, but it's in a different location. But similar shield logo, so that's really good. And I will roll this in a minute. And the third locomotive I want to show is this C420. This is an ALCO C420. The ALCO units are basically the third corporation that was building North American or railroad equipment for locomotives in the 60s. It unfortunately did not survive. However, Montreal Locomotive Works took over and was building locomotives up until the 80s for CN, basically using ALCO designs. So this is, like I said, an ALCO C420, and it's my only decoder equipped DCC ready locomotive. It's got a decoder in it. Anyways, I have a few other D&H locomotives that I'll show another time, but these are the 3 main models that I have of D&H. And what I'll show over here now is one of the D&H boxcars I have. Now, D&H, I don't have too many boxcars, and this one just is a good example of D&H rolling stock. They took a lot of pride in the 60s in their railroad, and they were showing, like many of the other ones I was showing, it would have a really nice logo. It even has a slogan. It's bridge line. Here it says serving Canada and something or other. Yeah, my eyes aren't that great, but you can see it right there. Anyway, so there's a Delaware and Hudson. This is a standard 50-foot boxcar that they would have had. And D&H did survive after 1976. It was not merged into Conrail, which is what I'm going to show next. Here's Conrail. Now, Conrail stands for Consolidated Railway Corporation. And in the 70s and 80s, this was an iconic car, an iconic railroad of the Eastern Seaboard, basically. It took 6 other small competing railroads, mostly in the Northeast. I would say Lehigh Valley would be one of them. And these mostly railroads from Pennsylvania and New York State, upper New York State, and rolled them all into one corporation that was profitable for the first time, because these other ones were becoming unprofitable. In the description, I'll write down which railroads were rolled into Conrail. But this is, again, a nice, really well done symbol. It's for what it was. I mean, it's what you can see there is a wheel and tracks and stuff like that, and it's another sign that somebody put some thought into it. And then what I have here is a CP rail, cylindrical hopper car, but it's in the silver scheme that I was mentioning earlier in another video. It's again the Pac-Man, which is the CP moon, I guess, and this arrow kind of thing that harkens back to their old symbology. And yeah, these were running around the same time as they had their black ones. So it's just another version of CP Rail's Multimark kind of symbol. Here, I have a Government of Canada wheat car. This is a different paint scheme that they had. These aluminum cars were built, I guess, later on. I think they were also built by National Steel Company in Hamilton, Ontario. You might still see these running around in Montreal as kind of ghost cars. I'm not quite sure. There are a few Government of Canada schemes around there, not just the giant Canada ones. But this is a rather handsome scheme with the silver and the sheaves of wheat. The Government of Canada here, they have like the old, the way that all these old government agencies used to have this half Canada flag kind of symbol, and then the name of the ministry kind of thing. And then here, what I have here is Vermont Railway. Now, the Vermont Railway, you might actually see some of these boxcars, red ones maybe, or a yellow one, kind of faded again because the company is a smaller corporation based in Vermont. And it still exists today. It's the Vermont Railway System. And I really like their symbol. They took some pride in it. You have these green mountain type symbols here. And it's been that symbol for a long time on this railway, and it's really cool. I really enjoy them. Next one here is Maine Central. Now, Maine Central was one of the bigger railroads in the Northeast. It got rolled up into a company called Guilford. Now, in the 80s, they used to have these gray locomotives with a little orange G. And I have an example of one of their cars that I'll show in another video. But I really like that pine tree symbol. That was their more modern symbol that was probably picked up in the 60s and late 60s maybe, and it ran into the 70s and maybe actually into the 80s actually, because in the 83, 84, I guess it became Guilford. But yeah, I think you can still see some of these running around in the Montreal area, or they were up until a few years ago anyway. But if they are surviving, they're going to be lettered for Pan Am Railways now. And speaking of Pan Am Railways, this is a more modern boxcar that shows a lot of interest for me. Now this Pan Am, everybody knows Pan Am probably as the Pan Am uh, airline from the years ago. But what happened is Pan Am, of course, went bankrupt, and then the name got picked up. And for some reason, this railroad decided to use the name. And the Guilford, like I said, changed everything into the Pan Am. So they have actually the same Pan Am symbol as was on the planes. And they have this Pan Am Railway now. And it's a really nice car. And I really like these. And it's just interesting that they decided to go with a two-tone, like a blue and then this dark color that a lot of the Guilford cars used to have, that dark green or whatever that is, like that dark color. So it seems like they just painted over what they needed to make the symbol. And a lot of the times when you see these cars, it seems like they did this almost for a reason, because when people graffiti up the cars, they only go like in the lower part of the car a lot of the time. So that symbol that you see, the Pan Am symbol there, is a lot of the time it's safe from graffiti artists, which is nice because it's a nice symbol, and I don't like to see cars with nice symbols and nice graphics tagged up and marked up for no reason. So anyways, this is all I wanted to do is show these cars and these locomotives. So here they are, and yeah, they're really nice, and they run really well too. This is what I really like. This is slow speed, and the two locomotives pulling this little caboose. It's really cool. Yeah, so that's going to go there underneath the bridge. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll have a few more in this series. So if you like what you saw, please subscribe to Cool Trains in Montreal, and have a good day. Bye.